Chapter 5 Property Rights by Karol Boudreaux.
Secure rights to property play a vital role in promoting growth, alleviating poverty, and conserving scarce resources. Property rights provide people with incentives to create, innovate, and trade voluntarily with others. They give us a reason to conserve and maintain things, and they also help protect us from others. Because they play these roles, property rights are a part of the foundation that supports a free and prosperous society. Another way to think of property rights is that they are a part of the glue that holds societies together.
What are property rights?
Property rights are rules that are developed to help solve problems. Just as people make rules to help traffic flow more smoothly and to avoid collisions, people have over time created rules about who can use different kinds of property, how they can use property, and how they can or cannot transfer that property. Property rights encourage people to behave in particular ways, and they let people know what will happen to them if they break the rules. These rules can be formal and expressed in law and regulations, or they can be informal, unwritten, and part of the social norms a society follows. Both kinds of property rights exist simultaneously: formal rights that are supposed to be enforced fairly by the government, and informal rights that are supposed to be enforced by social pressure. So long as people respect the rules, both formal and informal property rights can work effectively to promote growth, conservation, and individual freedom. More specifically, if you own something, you normally have a number of rights associated with the thing. Typically, you may use or not use your property, profit from the use of the property, allow others to use your property, sell your property or give it away, keep unwanted people off your property. We can have these rights in a variety of things. For example, real property. This means land and things like houses and factories that are attached to the land. Personal property. This means the stuff we own that is movable, such as your mobile phone, your clothing, your jewelry. Intellectual property. This kind of property is often the result of creative or artistic efforts, such as a new invention or a piece of music. Patents and copyrights are types of intellectual property. And finally, these rights can be held by different people or groups, by individuals, organizations, or by groups of individuals. By the government. Sometimes no one holds property rights to a thing or an area. In these cases, the area or thing is known as an open access resource.
Why do property rights work?
Property rights work because they provide people with incentives to behave in particular ways. When people hold secure rights to property, they are more likely to invest in and improve, protect, and conserve and maintain their property than they are if they hold limited or no rights to the property. Improving, protecting, and conserving property is costly. People go to the time and effort to do these things when their property rights are secure. If these rights are not upheld by some authority, people will spend much less time and effort protecting their property. Why protect and conserve property? The answer is because you expect to benefit from these actions at some point in the future. You fix the leaking roof of the house because if you don't, the house will be ruined. If the house is ruined, you won't be able to make as much of a profit on it when you sell it, or you'll find it less pleasant to live in. Either way, you'll suffer some cost from inaction. Property creates incentives to maintain and conserve because your efforts are tied directly to a benefit you reap. Of course, not every property owner can fix or conserve her property at all times. At any given moment, an individual may lack funds to make needed repairs. However, the general tendency will be to take care of what you own because from your perspective, it's a smart thing to do. By taking care of your property today, you stand to gain in the future.
Promoting trade and economic growth.
When people have secure rights to property, they trade with other people. Without property rights, trade is difficult, if not impossible, and so opportunities to benefit from trading are limited. Another way to think of this is that property rights allow people to allocate scarce resources. For example, their scarce working time and other valuable resources. If societies have generally accepted rules about how to allocate scarce resources, they have less conflict related to resource use. In this way, clear property rules promote peace. But also when people control their labor and other resources, they decide how to use these valuable things. Some authority does not command them to do one thing or another. This empowers individuals and allows them to pursue opportunities they find appealing. It also provides them with incentives to do things that other people will value. For example, imagine that you love baking. If you own or control your own labor and are able to save money to lease space, you use your labor and your capital in pursuit of a passion, and in the process you trade what you do and what you produce for what other people have. As a result of the various trades, people are better off. You build your business, the landlord uses her property in a profitable way, the consumer has a cake she wants. The billions upon billions of trades that take place worldwide each day are based on people having things to trade. Strong evidence exists to support the claim that people who trade more are more prosperous. In countries where people are free to trade their talents, goods and services with other people, standards of living rise and people on average live longer and healthier lives. More trade is the key to economic growth and reducing poverty. Trade depends upon property rights.
Protecting the environment.
Because property rights give people incentives to conserve and maintain things, property rights play a vital role in protecting the environment. An example from Africa can shed light on this connection. Before 1990, the apartheid government of South Africa, which treated black and white people differently, ruled the neighboring country of Namibia. The government controlled not only the people of Namibia, but also the wildlife in the country, except, that is, for wildlife found on land owned by white farmers. On all other land, the government owned wild animals. It made it extremely difficult for black Namibians to hunt legally. Local people had few opportunities to benefit legally from wildlife, but they did suffer costs. They created strong incentives to poach elephants, kudu, oryx, rhino, and to kill predators such as lions and leopards. Did the white farmers have the same incentives and behave the same way? They did not. Instead, they fenced their lands, voluntarily enclosing wildlife. Many stopped raising cattle and opened private game parks. They had a way to benefit legally from wildlife. In 1990, a new independent government took control in Namibia. This government eventually changed the property rules in the country and gave rights to manage and benefit from the use of wildlife to local communities. Since the policy began in 1997, over 50 communities have formed to manage wildlife and benefits from the use of these resources. Poaching on these community lands have essentially disappeared because now local people benefit directly from the wildlife. They build tourist lodges that create jobs for locals and that generate income. They hunt some animals for their own use. They sell some live animals to other game parks in other countries, and in some cases, they allow trophy hunting. All of these activities create benefits for local people, and all the benefits are tied to the animals. Local people now protect and conserve animals rather than poaching them. One powerful way to protect the environment is to provide property rights to environmental resources to people who will benefit from protecting the resources.
Empowering individuals.
Perhaps the most important role that secure property rights can play is, however, to promote human flourishing. When individuals or groups of individuals are able to decide how to use their resources, people are empowered to pursue their unique talents and to flourish in ways that they find worthwhile. On the other hand, when authorities control property, they often limit the ability of some groups within society to use resources or to pursue certain careers or opportunities. In other words, property rights are often restricted to limit economic and other opportunities for minority groups, for political opponents, for any disfavored group. This is a special problem and concern for women in many societies. they face significant discrimination in terms of owning, inheriting, or keeping control of land and other resources.
The key to freedom and prosperity.
For all these reasons, secure rights to property are a key institution in terms of unlocking prosperity and human flourishing. They promote trade and the peaceful allocation of scarce resources. They help to alleviate poverty. They provide people with incentives to care for and maintain natural resources and empower people by giving them opportunities to pursue their unique talents and abilities. Without these rights, societies are poorer, more conflict-prone, and less able to provide outlets for the unique creative abilities of citizens. Property rights truly are the building blocks of a free and prosperous society.